Oh, Jesperi. Oh, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. This is the guy, isn't it? We've made videos in the past talking about the idea of a Jesperi Kotkaniemi buyout. But we're making this video one more time because the idea was not just talked about online by social media guys like you and me. We actually had ourselves Elliotte Friedman on the most recent edition of 32 Thoughts go out there and talk about this too. Now, who is Jesperi Kotkaniemi? Well, the majority of my fan base that's watching this video, you're Montreal Canadiens fans, so you know who exactly it is KK happens to be. Third overall pick by the Habs in 2018, taken before Brady Tkachuk, taken before Quinn Hughes, taken before Filip Zadina, taken before a bunch of talented names, and the Montreal Canadiens selected this dude over all of them. 23 years old, 6'2", 201, left-handed guy, signed to the end of 2030, making $4.8 million a year. Kotkaniemi just wrapped up his third season with the Carolina Hurricanes, posting up 27 points in 79 games. He had 1 point in 11 games in the postseason. This guy was getting scratched. This guy was being played on the fourth line. He wasn't given any minutes. He had 8 minutes in the Hurricanes' 6-3 win over the Islanders to eliminate them. He had 9 minutes in Game 2 against the Rangers, 7 minutes in Game 4, 9 minutes in Game 5. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is not an important player on this team, and that is unfortunate to say because when it comes to the profile, everybody thought he'd be a lot better when he debuted with Montreal. He had a season that was technically better than Alexander Barkov's, another top pick from Finland that happened to play a two-way center projectable style, and so Canadiens fans back then were over the moon. Never mind the fact that as his career went on with the Canadiens, I mean, he went to the Stanley Cup Finals, he played a bunch of games, and he was a part of that team. He'd scored a pretty good clutch goal against, who was it, Toronto, to really seal the deal for Montreal. In fact, we can go over to 2021 and see that. Yeah, he had scored a really clutch goal against Toronto twice. Then he had scored against Winnipeg in the opening game. He was good. Look at that Winnipeg Jets logo. So nice right there. But KK was an important part for the Canadiens in that time frame, only for the 2 seasons later version of KK to no longer be playing with Carolina. Now, of course, there was an offer sheet. We know that Carolina only really used that offer sheet to get revenge for Montreal offer sheeting Sebastian Aho, but now, after signing that offer sheet, $6 million, 1 year, Kotkaniemi is on the contract he is on right now, 4.8 till the end of 2030, and because his performance has declined, because he's only being played 8-9 minutes a night, because he doesn't produce anymore, and because he gets scratched and he gets played in the fourth line, we had ourselves Elliotte Friedman go out there and talk about this on 32 Thoughts. Here's a tweet from Zachary Martin that goes out there and summarizes it. Another thing that Friedman said on 32 Thoughts regarding Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Kotkaniemi. Yeah, no, that's wrongly spelled. I'm sorry. Kotkaniemi. That's funny. Is there financial incentive for the Carolina Hurricanes to buy out Kotkaniemi at 1/3 based on how it's structured? There's no bonus like Dubois, making it easier for the cap hit. The buyout would be 12 years at $835,000 per savings, saving the team $20 million. Now, to help us out, we do have Cap Friendly, which is completely pushed off to the side. Let's go out there and do this. How about we do that? Yeah, there you go. Jesperi Kotkaniemi buyout results. A Jesperi Kotkaniemi buyout spans the length of 12 years and a savings of $20 million. Kotkaniemi is 23 years old at the time of the buyout, therefore the buyout ratio is only 1/3 the remaining salary. We talked about this and more in the prior video, but let's just go out there and refresh y'all. With $30.06 million remaining in salary, the cost would be $10.02, and the savings are $20.04. Buyouts span twice the length of the remaining contract years, and because there are 6 years remaining in the contract, the buyout length would be 12 years long. The buyout cap hit is displayed in the cap hit calculation table below. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is currently making $4.82 million a year till the end of 2030, but if the Carolina Hurricanes bought him out, that cap hit significantly reduces. They have about $3 to $4 million in savings for the years going till 2030, and then from 2030 to 2036, their cap hit every single year would only be $835,000. It would be very cheap, actually, to buy out Jesperi Kotkaniemi because he is only 23 years old. If he was older, this dollar amount and the savings would be significantly increased. So the Carolina Hurricanes, if they were thinking about buying out KK, they would have to do it sooner rather than later to effectively use the amount of savings they'd be able to get because he is so young at the moment. $4.8 million a year is pretty expensive for a bottom-line player. A guy you don't play, a guy who doesn't produce, a guy who's disappointing, a guy who's a shell of his former self, who doesn't power play, who doesn't penalty kill, and when he does, he doesn't look good in those spots. Do you want to go out there and save $4 million a year? Upwards to 2030 by the time you get rid of this guy's contract? And when you start getting into the post-2030 years, only $835,000 is your cap hit till 2036. That's not a lot of money. That's a good amount of savings right there for a Carolina Hurricanes team that might just be able to utilize all of this extra dough for other players and other parts of their roster. Do you know how many things you can get with $4.8 million a year? I know if you're thinking about me and you terms, yeah, we can get a lot with $4.8 million. I can buy a house. But if you're an NHL team, you can get very high quality bottom six players for a fraction of the cost that one bottom six player in Kotkaniemi costs. You can get multiple of these guys. You can get a top tier scorer with $4.8 million. There are a lot of things you can do with that money, and even into the post Kotkaniemi contract years, only $830,000 as a cap hit is not a lot at all. So if you start to say, yeah, the Hurricanes are not believing in this guy, they don't think that he's going to be worth it, he is kind of not great, he's a bum, he doesn't produce anymore, he's this, he's that, he's whatever, 27 points in 79 games played, and 1 point in his last 10 games. Yeah, okay, a buyout does sound like a good possibility. There's a reason Elliotte Friedman floated this idea on the podcast. I mean, Friedman is not a fool. He's not going to go out there and talk about stuff just because it's random and in his head. It's like, yeah, okay, we could talk about this idea, Kotkaniemi getting bought out. It's kind of crazy how the two guys that have been linked to the Montreal Canadiens as two-way centers taken third overall in both PLD and Kotkaniemi are prime buyout candidates at this point in their NHL careers. Like, sure, there's a difference. They're separated by 2 years, but at the same time, it's so bizarre how Montreal keeps on finding themselves at the helm of two-way center discussions of guys who are not all too great and who could debatably get bought out. Add to this the third overall discussions about Alex Galchenyuk, Jonathan Drouin. Yeah, no, the Habs just keep on getting involved with third overall picks. That's so weird. Hey, hockey gods, keep on changing the script, eh? Why don't ya? Stop using the same thing over and over again. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the idea of a Jesperi Kotkaniemi buyout and how Elliotte Friedman legitimately went out there and talked about this on the recent episode of 32 Thoughts. Asking the question, is there a financial incentive to buy him out at 1/3 of the salary based on how it's structured? There's no bonus, making it easier for the cap hit, and the buyout would be 12 years at $835,000, aka what we're seeing on this chart right here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about a Jesperi Kotkaniemi buyout. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.